Hello Crown Corner fans, it's your host Crown, ready to bring you another batch of fascinating, sometimes outrageous stories from everyday life. You never know what's around the corner, and these tales prove just that. From the unexpected to the unbelievable, we've got it all covered. So settle in, relax, and let's embark on this storytelling journey together. Remember, if you enjoy these stories, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Now, let's get into it. This happened a few weeks ago at a local electronics store, and it's still fresh in my mind. I was browsing some headphones minding my own business when I heard a commotion nearby. There was this lady, let's call her Karen, arguing with a teenager. Karen was in her late 40s wearing an expensive-looking outfit, and the teenager was just a regular high school kid, probably 16 or 17, wearing a basketball jersey and jeans. "I know you have my phone. Give it back right now." Karen was almost screaming at the teenager. "I don't have your phone, lady. I've got my own." The teenager replied, clearly confused and a bit scared. Karen was relentless. "Don't lie to me. I saw you take it. It's the same model as mine." The teenager tried to explain, showing her his phone, but she wasn't having any of it. And that's when the store manager came over. "What seems to be the problem here?" The store manager asked. "This thief stole my iPhone." Karen pointed at the teenager, but the guy looked desperate. "It's not hers, it's mine. We just have the same model." The store manager, looking uncomfortable, turned to the teenager. "Son, can I please see the phone?" Before the teenager could respond, another customer intervened. He was a tall, well-dressed black man in his 30s. "Hold on a minute. You're just going to take her word for it? That's not right." The manager was taken aback. "I'm just trying to resolve the situation." The man stood his ground. "No, you're assuming this young man is guilty because of her accusation. That's not fair." Karen was fuming. "Are you defending a thief? I want my phone back." The man replied calmly. "If he's innocent, you're accusing him wrongfully. Let's wait for the police and sort this out properly." So we waited for the police to arrive. Karen kept ranting about how she was wronged and how her phone was stolen. The teenager was visibly shaken but stood his ground, and the man who had intervened stayed by his side. When the police arrived, they started asking questions, and Karen immediately launched into her story, pointing at the teenager. The cops listened and then turned to the teenager for his side. He explained that he had his own phone and had never even seen Karen before. One of the officers suggested, "Let's check the store security footage and use the Find My iPhone app." They reviewed the store security footage on a laptop and it showed nothing of the teenager taking any phone. Then they used Karen's Find My iPhone app. To everyone's surprise, her phone started ringing from her own purse. Everyone was in shock. Karen's face went pale. She tried to stammer out an excuse, but it was too late. The cops were not amused. "You're under arrest for filing a false police report and causing a public disturbance," one of the officers said as they handcuffed her. The teenager was relieved, and the man who had helped him patted his back. "Glad that got sorted out," he said. The manager apologized profusely to the teenager and the man. "I am really sorry for what happened. This should never have occurred." The teenager nodded, still a bit shaken. "It's okay, I'm just glad the truth came out." As for Karen, she pleaded guilty later on. The story got around and it served as a real-life lesson on jumping to conclusions and racial profiling. Well, it finally happened. Yesterday I experienced the Karen encounter. First, some background. I'm a 6'3" bearded larger man with a background in law enforcement and private security. Currently, I'm an operations manager for a state facility providing temporary housing for children and teens awaiting foster homes. A few days ago, my colleague and I received substantial bonuses for opening our new intake facility a month ahead of schedule. Since I didn't particularly need the bonus, I offered to help my team by covering some expenses and improving their work experience. A main request from everyone was more caffeine. We all consume it regularly during our shifts. With things quiet at work, I decided to head to Wally World to stock up on caffeine for the staff fridge and to buy a new coffee machine. There I was in the appliance section contemplating whether to get a single or multi-cup coffee machine, when a small Hispanic grandmother approached me. She politely asked if I could reach something from the top shelf for her. After assisting her and receiving thanks, I moved to the drink area to fulfill my team's requests. And that's when I encountered the woman I referred to as Karen. Out of nowhere, I heard a shrill, piercing voice from this mid-50s woman, seemingly having just arrived from the wilderness into Walmart. "I need you to come with me right now," she demanded. I ignored her and continued my search for drinks. Again, she called out, "Excuse me, young man. You need to come with me right now." I looked around, realizing she was addressing me. "Do you mean me?" I asked. "Yes, I mean you. Are all the managers this clueless?" She retorted. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't work here," I replied. She insisted, "Yes, you do. Is your radio not working? Didn't you hear the call for a manager?" I then noticed my radio from work was still on. No, ma'am, I didn't, but that's because I started, but she interrupted. "They gave you a radio. Use it. Now come with me. They are refusing to give me a refund," she demanded. I stood there stunned. "No, ma'am, I really don't work here," I tried to explain. "How dare you refuse to help me? You helped that other lady, but you won't assist a person in need?" she accused. At this point, I firmly stated, "Ma'am, I assure you, I'm not an employee here. Please understand I'm wearing my own clothes and a radio is for my actual job. I don't want to discuss this further. If you were still here when I grabbed that box of energy drinks," I pointed a few feet away, "I'll have to ask for assistance from the store staff." She quickly left the aisle, and I finished stuck in the staff break room for my team. Hey K-Korner friends, enjoying the show? Click that like button to show some love and drop a comment to share your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe to join our amazing community for more awesome stories. Alright, let's dive back into our next tale. Back in 1995, we had a tradition to let our dad carve the first pumpkin for Halloween as part of his birthday. We would take pictures and enjoy a celebration. My dad's birthday is October 29 and we ended on the 31st. My mom, myself, and sister spent 3 days celebrating him. When his pumpkin was smashed by two evil little monsters entitled Kid 1 and 2, my sister and I did not take it lightly. We knew who these kids were because there were witnesses to this crime. So my sister and I had a plan and we decided to make a new pumpkin that we put in a window and we decorated the house with ghosts and haunted house sounds from my stereo. We went to a dollar store and bought the cheapest candy for the boys. We weren't going to give them the good stuff that we gave our friends and neighbors. On Halloween, we dressed up, did our trick-or-treating with our friends, came home to our dad's traditional food, an amazing meatball dish that is a family secret, and we are wolfing these down as we see the two boys come up. You have to admit these little jerks were brave. The entitled kid number 1 rings the bell. I come to the door holding the ball of meatballs in one hand and toss a cheap candy at them before they could say trick or treat. I smile as I take a bite of the meatball. The entitled kid number 2 says, "That's it? Yeah, we had to get our dad a new birthday pumpkin." Sis says, "Do you expect us to be made of cash? That's not fair. Everyone else got." "So, why do you deserve the same?" "We will tell." We start to laugh and slam the door in their face. Around 10 p.m. our mother came to our rooms and said we did something to two boys. We both come down to see this lady and she told my mother we denied her boys candy. My mom just rolled her eyes as we explained what we saw. The lady, who was a total entitled mother, just decided to say we should have shared our food and candy instead of slamming the door in their faces. She demanded we apologize, and this when my sister, who was glaring at the woman like she was a piece of trash, said, "No, we won't apologize until they apologize to our dad. They smashed his pumpkin and ruined his birthday. We don't care what punishment we get. Make them apologize." The entitled mother just stared at her two boys who were behind her and asked if this was true. The entitled kid number 1 admitted that yes, they smashed the pumpkins and it was no big deal to them. A pumpkin is not a birthday gift. My sister and I still did not apologize, and we told our mom that until the entitled kids apologize to our dad, we won't say a word. Our mom just told the entitled mother, "I can't make them apologize to your boys. What they did was wrong and we will press charges if we see your sons near our house again." Yes, I remember this because it was the most important moment for us growing as we treasure our dad. I still do. My mom may be a nightmare to deal with, but my dad is so important. My mom did say she was proud of us for not backing down and planning this out without her. She did say we should have included her in this as she could have made the boys apologize. We never got an apology and honestly, we didn't expect one. Though I do hope those boys choked on those chiclets candy because they deserved bad karma. So back in 1995, we deprived two brats of good candy and my dad's perfect cooking as revenge for ruining his birthday. We are told to apologize by some entitled mother and we get off unpunished because we demanded they apologize first. My dad told me this story today over lunch and it seemed completely appropriate was this subreddit. There are two things to know before I tell this story. These events took place in the 1970s in a third world country where justice is obtained with one's own hand and family, for better or worse, is unconditional. My maternal family on my grandmother's side is known in her town for having outbursts of anger, the kind that blurs vision and turns everything red, and a strong temper. No one in my family embodied these qualities more infamously than my great-grandmother, Mama Delia. Mama Delia was an implacable woman, violent with her words and her fists as well. With Mama Delia, my grandmother, her siblings, and later my father's generation, making a mistake no matter how small was a death sentence. Mama Delia was married to my great-grandfather, obviously, a magistrate to the Supreme Court of Justice of my country and, according to my dad, a good man and highly respected by all. But the moment that he walked through the door of the house, his authority ended and my great-grandmother's tyrannical rule began. Nothing was done or undone without her will, and as you can imagine, my great-grandmother and her siblings resented her greatly. Mama Delia has been dead for 40 years now, but stories of her are still told at all family gatherings. They also say that everyone in my family, my grandmother, who if you knew her, you would say I'm lying, she is a sweetheart, and her children inherited her caloric gene that comes out from time to time in an explosive and memorable way. My great-grandparents had 4 sons, but only one is relevant in this story, Jose. Now his real name. Jose was the second and most rebellious of all of them, the one who could not stand Mama Delia's mistreatment, and he let her know it all the time. He was the only one who stood up to her, and consequently the one who suffered the most. It was when Jose turned 15 that he decided never again to let himself be mistreated or abused by her, and of course Mama Delia had something to say about it. I don't know exactly the details, but something my uncle did that upset her deeply. Years before, Mama Delia would have responded with leashes and screaming. But since my uncle was already 15, he was taller and stronger than his mother. She had to resort to an alternative tactic. She decided to call a policeman to the house. And what were her instructions to the policeman? To give my uncle the beating of his life. That was the last day my great-uncle lived at his parents' house. But where I come from, family is the most important thing. Impossible to escape. 4 years later, my great-grandparents had moved to their new house in another part of town. Next to them lived the Cordobes. The parents, normal people, but the son, Ruben, was another story. Ruben was about 25 years old. Ruben did not study, nor did he work or help with household chores. I don't know this for a fact, but I can imagine it. Ruben spent all his time and energy on 2 things. Growing his muscle mass and insulting my grandparents every time he saw them walking down the street. My dad couldn't tell me why. Maybe Ruben was just like that, or maybe Mama Delia said or did something to him at some point. I wouldn't be surprised either. What he did tell me was that Ruben's aggressiveness towards my great-grandparents was so extreme that he wouldn't even let them walk on his side of the sidewalk, claiming that it was his. My great-grandparents never did anything about it. My great-grandfather had his first child at 46 and my grandmother at 36, so they were already old by then. And for some mysterious reason, they never told anyone what was going on with Ruben either. This is where Jose comes in again. His relationship with his mother was strained and conflicted, which did not stop him from visiting them every so often to see his father and his 3 siblings. That day my great-grandparents were returning home and of course Ruben's shouts, insults, and obscene rudeness were there to accompany them as they opened the door to their house. What he didn't count on was that Jose was arriving at the same moment and heard everything. The world went first black and then red. Like a worthy son of Mama Delia, Jose exploded. He lunged at Ruben 3 times. All 3 times was a blow to the face. Rupin knocked him effortlessly to the ground. Faced with such a beast, anyone else would have abandoned the fight. Jose did not. Jose was used to the pain, the blood and the bruises that remained weeks later. Jose had lost his fear of confrontation years ago. Jose stood up one last time under Rupin's insult and taunts and charged him. I don't know how he did it, perhaps Rupin had let his guard down, but he managed to land a kick on his opponent's chin. Rupin did not fall to the ground completely, but he was destabilized. Rupin did not know it, but he had already lost. My great uncle climbed on his back as if riding a map bull at a fair, grabbed him by the head and slammed him repeatedly against the pavement. The smashed face, the teeth scattered on the ground, and the torrent of blood were not enough for Jose. What he did next was to grab Rupin by the hair and drag him up and down the street, twice, until my older great-uncle stopped him. The story ends with Rupin in the hospital, his face unrecognizable and deformed, and my uncle disappearing for a week to avoid any kind of retaliation. Never again did my great-grandparents have problems with Rupin, although Jose's relationship with Mama Delia never improved despite what happened. Can we post about ourselves being a Karen? Yesterday I purchased a SIM card kit for Straight Talk because I wanted to add a new line to my account. I already had an unlocked phone to use and I planned to put the SIM card into that one. Well, while going through the activation process, I kept getting messages saying that coverage wasn't available in my area, but that couldn't be right since I have two lines active and working in the area that I was trying to start a new line in. I eventually gave up for the night and decided to contact customer support when they opened. First, I tried the text chat and the Straight Talk app. The representative told me that I couldn't use that phone because the IMEI was already associated with my account. True, because it's an old phone and I used it before on my account, but when I got a new phone, I would take the SIM card out and put it in a new phone. No issue. I even did so when a family member wanted my old phone. They activated a new SIM in it and then eventually got a new one and put the SIM into their new phone. But I was now trying to do so again for another family member and no luck. The customer service rep tells me I can't switch existing SIM cards to new phones, and I can't put a new SIM card into a phone that was already used on my account. I would have to buy new SIM cards for all the phones active on my account. But that didn't sound right. If I can't put a new SIM card into a phone previously used on my account, wouldn't I just run into the same issue as all of them? So I decided to call them and see if I got the same issue, but I kept talking in circles with this rep. I say to him, I'm trying to activate a new line on my account. There isn't a new line showing on your account. That is why I'm calling. I need to activate the new line. Are you wanting to transfer your number to a new phone? No, I want to keep my number active and I want to set up a new line on my family account. There isn't a new line on your account because it's not activated yet. After talking in circles, I eventually asked to speak to a supervisor, and they refused to transfer me to one. After more talking in circles, I eventually hang up. Once I take a few breaths, I try one more time. This third rib is a bit more helpful, but still refuses to transfer me to a supervisor. Eventually, they tell me they can't help me because their SIM cards are incompatible with my phone I've used with their service before. I'm still not allowed to talk to a supervisor. I'm just told to buy a new phone. Probably one of their prepaid ones that can't even come close to matching the specs, performance, or storage space that the phone I'm trying to use has. All in all, was just frustrating and nothing more. I am not putting out a lot of money and I can at least make use of the included time card if nothing else. So Reddit, tell me how big of a Karen I was. And that's a wrap for today's episode of K-Korner. I hope these stories have entertained you, maybe even made you think a bit. Life's a wild ride full of unexpected twists, and we're here to share those moments with you. Thank you for joining me today, and if you liked what you heard, please show your support with a like and a comment. Your feedback means the world to me. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories, and remember to keep it light, fun, and easygoing. Until next time, this is Crown, signing off.